Obviously, you don't believe in my God, right? If you don't believe in my God or that there is a God, why do you need to respect that belief? It doesn't make sense. So you think my belief is ridiculous, you don't have to respect it. But what you need to do is respect my right to believe it.
And Shine. I'm your host Reggie, aka your chief financial coconut,
and I'm Dawn, budget babe. Today I finally met my twin. You guys remember the viral video? And my twin is none other than.
Hi, I'm Walid, and I'm an assistant professor at NTU, but I have my own podcast, not as fancy as this.
No, the best political podcast in Singapore.
Yes, I've been anointed by Reggie. It's called Teh Tarik with Walid, where I interview politicians and political influencers. Basically, I want to make politics accessible to the average person because I think I've said it before on your show, even if you don't care about politics, politics cares about you. So we might as well care about politics.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about a topic that I think is increasingly interesting. Very, very, very important. You know, a bit more chim. Of course, chim people must talk about chim things, right? So and the topic is identity versus community, right? Where is the balance, right? Especially in the context of Singapore. Because, we are a bit more varied, a bit more interesting. Or at least we believe the uniqueness of Singapore, right? Singapore is unique. So yes, that is the discussion for today, right? Identity versus community. Where is the balance? And I think the genesis of today's discussion is the rise of individualism, right? Where more and more people are just thinking everything from themselves, right? Our own view, like our own happiness.
Not narcissism.
Yeah, it is. It is narcissism.
At the extent, right? I think at the far end, it leads to narcissism, right? On some level. But I know narcissism is a strong word. Later,
You're trying to be politically correct.
I must put alert later, all the alert, that kind of relax, right? But that is why we wanted to talk about it today. I think also in conjunction with like National Day is coming, all that jazz. So where do you think? What is the balance, right? Identity versus community. Is there even a balance? Is there even a possibility of it?
I want to hear the professor take.
Yeah. So definitely, I think you cannot take. So I mean, it's, as you say, it's very multifaceted, right? So for few primers first, right? So I don't think Singapore is that unique in many ways. It's unique in a sense that we have some things which are different from other countries, but every country will claim to be unique.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and when we keep overemphasizing the uniqueness of Singapore, it closes the door to learning from other countries as well. And sometimes some patterns you see across countries. So that's the first thing. And also it's related to the identity part, which we have / will be importing from other countries. So that's why it's important to emphasize that.
So we are diluting our identity?
No, in the sense that we are importing other countries' language of identity politics, for better or for worse, right? We've always been so cosmopolitan. We've always adopted ideas from other countries. So this will come in as well, right?
Yeah, no, I think the idea here is uniqueness as... It's like a trope, right? Like when you throw out like, we are unique, essentially it becomes a blanket to not talk about whatever that is out there.
So okay, so we cannot have minimum wage because we're unique.
Because we're unique.
We cannot have this because we're unique.
So that's the thing
we
that
can
we
have
should.
both because you're unique.
Hey, don't lie. I try to control this thing. Tomorrow I receive letter
because that's true. That's true. Right.
Yeah. Okay. It's hard for you to discuss. Okay. But the idea here is this: when this uniqueness is being thrown out, it becomes a blanket shield for everything that we want and everything that we don't want. Right. So I think I get that. Yes.
So,
please continue.
So identity versus community. So all of us, right? First of all, identity is the different parts of our identity are integral to us, right? Like you're a woman and you're a Chinese, you're a mom. All of these are integral parts to you. So we cannot take that away from us. What I would say is we are an amalgamation of our identities. We are the mixture of our identities. So when somebody asks me, right, are you Singaporean first? Or are you Muslim first? I refuse to answer that question because that's a silly question. When I came through the door, I don't leave my Muslimness at the door and come in as I don't leave my maleness or manhood at the door, right? And I'm all in one at all times. Maybe at some times some part of my identity is triggered more, So when I go to watch National Stadium, Singapore versus Malaysia, I'm more Singaporean than when I go to the mosque, I'm more Muslim. When I'm at home, I'm more of a father than what. But I'm all of those things all at once, right? So in a sense, you can never extricate identities from people. Identities are extremely important, right? So whether it's race, especially the more visceral one, race. And one thing that we don't talk about enough is language also, because the racial connection is often because of a language connection as well, right? So that's something as well. Of course, religion and increasingly gender and so on, right? But individualism, right? I would say it has accentuated because of social media. I think social media, it has brought out, it's not that human beings were not narcissistic before, but now, right, it has allowed
It
us.
rewards narcissism.
Yes, exactly. It rewards narcissism.
That's why I'm not viral enough.
I don't know. Can we?
You
I don't
can
know.
say.
I'm
Go.
only coming this time, right? So if you get cancelled, then
Yeah, then that's the end of the show. Then I will work for
It
NTU
was-
or something. It's like, you must take me in as research assistant. Okay, yeah.
rewards narcissism, rewards victimhood to some extent.
is, it
right?
does, it does.
So,
Victimhood. In what sense? Can you elaborate?
okay. So there's always okay. This hasn't happened in Singapore to a large extent, but I see semblance, and I see this happening in the States a lot. And whatever happens in the States, a lot of times it's translated to social media here, right? So where a person, or if you tell them, oh, I'm a minority because I'm a black, then another person will come in, oh, I'm a black, a woman, and I'm from the LGBT community. And then another person will say, oh, I am a black and a woman, and from a single parent, like, that's, and basically to get some credit, right? And also to get some sympathy, empathy from others. So again, on some level, that's fine. But on another level, right, you need to draw the line. So for me, when I look at things and I'm trying to explain poverty, for instance, and you want to explain poverty, you cannot go away from the structural factors, right? What has caused the person to be poor, right? For instance. But at the same time, right, there must be a balance such that you don't take the individual motivation out of it, right? So this balance is very, very important for me. And I fear that, like capitalistic governments will always make the mistake on the side of emphasize, you don't work hard enough, you don't work hard enough.
Yes.
And then people who are more woke will make the
Woke,
mistake.
very strong word. Huh?
They will say privilege.
Yeah, so if they will make the mistake of like to the point where you become helpless already, like you are a product
It's all
of
the
your
system.
Yeah,
It's
then
all
you
the
cannot do
system.
anything. So I think we must find a balance between
It's
the
true.
two.
It's true. Which is one of the episodes that I recorded. I think maybe it will go up before this. I'm not sure whether should you hate the rich, right? And I specifically said you must allocate accurate blame to the rich, right? Like it's not just about whether you like them or you don't like them,
Right.
because when you can accurately allocate like what is the problems that they're causing or the existence of them causing, and you know what the benefits that they come with, then on some level you can better evaluate
Right.
like where should we go with this, right? If not, it will just be
Absolutely.
an emotional cesspool, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think that's why today's discussion is like complicated, right? Because we are essentially talking about, okay, you have all this identity campur inside you, okay, you as a
Right.
person, and you as an individual. I think these days we believe that we are the end all be all. Everything is about us, our
Right.
maximization of us.
Exactly.
Right? That the collective community is no longer, it's like an afterthought. It's like me
Exactly.
first, then everyone else later lah.
Which is not wrong. You have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others. That's a fact, right? There are some others who do it the reverse way. So you take care of others first, then you expect others to take care of you. The problem is you cannot control that. But when you take care of yourself first, then you take care of others. You can control it because it's you choosing to take care of others. So whether that happens or not, it's all you. But when you take care of others first, and then you expect something and you don't get that, then you start blaming everyone. You start becoming very jaded. And I mean, as a mom, right, we also always say you have to take care of yourself as a mother
I
first, as a
agree.
person,
I
before
agree.
we even have any bandwidth to take care of our kids and the household.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it's wrong.
No, I don't think it's wrong. That's why we're here to decide where is the line.
Where's the
We're
line,
here to
right?
draw the line. That's why sorry. We're here to
Such a
experiments,
tough-
right? And discuss where is the line. Yeah, draw the line very serious. Yeah. So, which is why the discussion is like, where is the balance?
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't think anybody will dispute that, because I do agree, right? If you are in a shit state, right, everything you touch is a shit show. Right?
Yeah.
That is my baseline.
I feel like the people who observe societal trends like us, right? Then we must always also pinpoint where society is at. So if I were to do this podcast 50 years ago, right, then I would say to my parents, you guys need to take care of yourself more, right? You always put other people at the center of everything, right? But now if I'm talking to my child, I'm talking to people his generation, I'll say, you guys need to put other people because the pendulum has swung the other way. It's shifted so much. And I think that is where we are at with social media. It allows, and as you said, Dawn, it rewards narcissism, and we form fake communities online to the point that, and I think a lot of, it's well established already. Increase of usage of social media makes a person less social. Ironically, you interact with people more. It increases rates of anxiety and depression for teenagers, especially teenage girls, but also teenage boys, but more acute in teenage girls. And we can see why, right? Like, every teen struggles with puberty, body image issues, right? But for us last time, right? For us to see a perfect body, we had to go and buy a magazine.
And then we blame magazines.
But now it's everywhere. It's everywhere online,
and the
right?
difference is you buy the magazine, it's a little bit more prohibitive because you need the money.
Correct. You
but
need
social
to go
media
out.
is free,
Exactly.
And it's in your phone, you cannot blame anyone.
And you cannot, so
you must hide in your cupboard. Right? Cannot so obvious. Cannot be like on the shelf like that, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Say,
Cannot relate.
Whoa.
So,
cut that. He not joining me, must cut. Okay, yes.
So I think it has created this culture, and it becomes more about ourselves than other people. So that balance, I think. So we need to restore. And it's always, the pendulum is never in the middle. It's always swinging one way. A bit like mental health. I don't know how many times you want this show to get cancelled.
A lot of cancellation. Yeah, I already sense a lot of hot
we went
spots.
from not caring about mental health, right?
Yeah.
Which was an unhealthy state, to everything is about mental
everything
health.
is about mental health.
Over-obsessing.
It's so
So
annoying.
to the point where, and I've even heard, so it's true, there are some things about mental health you cannot control, like genetics, some of it circumstances, right? And those are things beyond. But there are things that are in your, not say you can completely help, but you can do. Like even simple things like exercising, mindfulness and so on. And also there is a trend, which again hasn't happened in Singapore, but I think probably will. In America, for instance, everybody is self-diagnosing themselves with something, like a teenager self-diagnosing themselves with some and it's just to get attention as well. And that's where the individual part and you start not thinking about other people, like, oh, what would my parents think about this? Because there are consequences to us posting something online. What would my parents think about this, right? What would my family think about this? They don't care. And so that's the thing. And I think, and this is not about older people versus younger people. If we were young, we would be the same as well. It's a technological thing. Yeah.
Can I also say, I think it's the way the culture has shifted. I mean, as a kid, I grew up in a more like authoritarian type of household. So I lived in fear of my parents.
Authoritarian,
Hence,
very strong.
I would think, they were very strict, Cannot negotiate.
I resonate.
Yeah, that would be authoritarian,
I will use domineering.
Domineering, okay,
Authoritarian is
same. Similar.
Yeah.
I think that describes the majority of Asian households, right? So we grew up in fear. Which is also why most of us don't have very good relationships now, and then we're talking about that. But because you fear, hence when you post something, if we post something, we would be more mindful, more conscious of what our parents might think. But today, that's not how we parent either, right? I mean, as parents ourselves, we are being taught to parent differently. We are being given all this literature that, you don't want to raise your kids the way your parents raised you because it caused all these cracks in your relationship. Are you sure you want that? You need to, gentle parenting. You need to respect this individual, nurture their self. So now it's really all about the child. When my child has a meltdown, I cannot say, don't do that. I have to say, I can see you're very frustrated. You cannot do that. But how about let's find something else you can do. I feel you. So it's all about that. And when the kid grows up with that, naturally, then the whole culture, the whole sense of self has shifted.
So this is absolutely true. And I think to respond to that, even on this, I feel the pendulum has swung completely the other way. Like it came from like, oh, the parents didn't show any love. No, not that the parents didn't show any love. Sorry, the parents didn't show overtly, right? Their love language was different, right? It's not that our parents love us less than we love our children. It's just that their way of showing.
Ways.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, but now we have completely. Oh, scolding is not good. Like you cannot. Like you must always validate. Like validate the feelings. Have you ever brought up like a 5-year-old? Like the 5-year-old doesn't even know what they are feeling, right? You want to validate every single wrong thought of them. So again, where is the balance, right? So Professor Jonathan Haidt, he actually wrote this book, The Molecular.
Walid, I love it, say. Like when you come in, you quote professors. We talk, please.
He's a psychologist, and he identified why parents have become this way. A few structural factors. He wrote The Mollycoddling of the American Mind, and one of the reasons is because our parents, or at least in America, they had more children. So the attention was more divided, and so that's one. Whereas ours, we have fewer, so we devote more attention, right? So that's a good thing, but the bad thing is we become more overprotective. Whereas in the past, right, 8 years old, you let them go down already, right? Now, like I've seen it also. I asked that time when my son was 7 or 6, I asked him to go down to the shop, which is, you don't even have to cross the road. And my mom was there, and my mom started scolding me. I said, you asked me to go to the shop last time.
Is it not safer now? Right?
Yeah, but that may just be a grandparent, they are more protective. But I'm thinking, we are overprotecting them more, right? But what's the consequence? The consequence is, right, they are not able to handle conflict, disturbances, any distress more.
Yes.
And that is a long-term consequence. And you think that so there's a difference between bullying and teasing, right? And there's a line, right? And teasing is part of growing up, and bullying is something we don't want. But if we even prevent teasing, right, then we make them a bit softer in the sense that, they don't know how to handle conflicts on their own. And then they require, any problem, the government step in, censor this person. Any problem, parents step in, right? So that's a technological or structural change.
No, and I mean, I don't have kids lah, but I see that at the workplace, right? I see that energy translating into the workplace, especially when I work with like younger people.
Yeah.
Right? They have an expectation that you must like care for them, and like things must slow down because they are not things must follow their pace.
Yeah.
Right?
Internships now and then very different, right?
Very different. Yeah, internships is different, right? Then they like can come late and don't feel remorse at all, and maybe people will say I'm outdated, but I think you want me to invest in you as a leader, right? As an organization, you want me to invest in you. You jolly well show me that you are worthy of me investing in you, right? And I think as much as you are not obligated to be part of the team, I'm not obligated to keep you. Right, and I think there's the element, right? And I know a few years ago, some of these corporate leaders came out and say in this way, kena cancel.
Yeah,
right. All kena cancel, right? Rise Media, all cancel, right? Like, I know, man, we are friends, but they really cancel them, right? So, but I think it is shifting a little bit, right? After rounds of cancellation, it is shifting a little bit, and I feel like we need to be clear that, depending on what kind of relationship we are going into, whether is it a collective as a company or whether are we going as a community, on some level, you do have to sacrifice a part of your identity or a part of your own comfort to be part of a bigger group.
That's part of living life. So, human beings are tribal. We have always survived because we were
groups.
tribal. Yeah, because of groups, So Amy Chua wrote this, right? The tribal nature of human beings. And it's true. Human beings have survived. We have evolved to be tribal, to be part of community, which is why loneliness leads to depression and so on. Of course, some people may say, I enjoy my me time. Okay, there's always the exceptions. I'm saying that as a whole, right? You know how damaging the lockdown was for people's mental health?
It is.
Even people who thought that they would enjoy it, like the first 2 days you enjoy it. After that, then you're gone already.
So after that, gone. Really. And when I don't know if people felt it, but when I first came out of the lockdown, I felt this general anxiety around people.
Right.
And I had to tell myself, like, it is understandable, you've been locked up for a year plus, right? Like you gotta slowly build up, the kind of stamina. Right, so I go out. Last time, you can go out whole day, no problem.
Right.
Then after the pandemic, like 2-3 hours, I was like, oh, this is too much for me.
Yeah.
And it's okay, right? So I adjusted over time, right? So
and we have to do that. Like what you said, being part of a community means you have to sacrifice some things, right? And that's just how it is. Being part of a country, right, means you share the space with people who disagree with you, and that's fine.
Yeah.
People who have different political ideologies. If you wanted to live in a place where you only
echo
agree
chamber.
with, sorry, no, you live by yourself. Right?
Stay in. The four walls will echo what you
Even
say.
our spouses don't agree with us all the time. In fact,
you just
sometimes
slept
most of the
outside
time.
yesterday, is it? Like living room night, that? It's like,
Let's break that down. I
yes,
think
I
it
like
really makes. I mean, one of the reasons why that is also moving, right? Like you said it very well. Being an individual in a community means giving up part of your individualism in order to stay in peace with the community. But the problem is, because society rewards individualism and narcissism with social media so much so, and also there's the advice which we also have given on one of our podcast episodes, whereby you attract your tribe, right?
Yeah.
So people then now start to take it that, if there's anything wrong, there's anything uncomfortable, it's either this is bad for my mental health, I leave, or this is not my tribe, I leave and I'll find something better, or I have to put up with this, I can cancel them and get people to work together to wait this out. So it becomes very extreme, and people are less willing to want to make those concessions, I feel. And as time goes by, as generations grow up, if we're not too careful to bring that back a little bit to the middle, we could very well see more extreme ends.
Oh yeah.
More
We're already
extreme
seeing
stops.
it. We're already seeing more and more.
I think
Yeah.
we're already seeing this.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you can even be cancelled today, that wasn't really something that was so much that was as common in the past, unless your view was like very, very problematic and like it hurt a lot of people, right? Today
So much
you
for
heard
liberalism, right? Oh,
Yeah.
liberal ideas, but actually no, it's only this
this
box.
is
today you hurt
liberal
feelings
intolerance.
only. You hurt someone's feelings, you gonna
Oh my
cancel.
god. So in the past it was governments who had the power to cancel people, which was problematic, right? But now like every other person on social
People
media
cancel
can
people. Yeah.
Right? And the feelings hurt, come on, like feelings hurt, that's part of life. Like my feelings get hurt all the time. Like, but I'm
My
gonna
kid hurts my
cancel.
feelings all the time.
because Newcastle lost.
Because I switch off his TV. I hate you, mommy.
Yeah, exactly. So what? That's just part of life, right? But that also for me the mechanism is we will always have different ideas, but the mechanism is right. You mustn't ever not have a space where you're allowed to contest these ideas, no matter what that idea may seem off field, right? You must always, as long as it doesn't call for violence, right? We must allow space for that, and everyone also must have the humility, right? I am right, but I may be wrong. I think I'm right, but I may be wrong.
I feel like we need to teach people how to agree to disagree.
Yes, and I feel like in this day and age, right? So 20 or 30 years ago, I may say, oh, we need to teach people not to give offense. Now, we need to teach people to take offense. Our kids, right? It's okay. Like, okay, you get hurt, you respond with words, right? Let's say you don't check out, or of course, sometimes you need to check out as well, right? But not all the time. I mean, not all social media arguments need to be responded to. That's really not good for your mental health, right?
Yeah.
But like genuine disagreements, go ahead and have them.
And you see in Parliament also, right? As a beacon of society, you start to see more and more of that, right? Where both parties say, okay, that is your position, and that's it, right?
Within the same party also got different views.
And they don't go as all out to crash each other, or it's not too one-sided anymore. So that is a interesting manifestation, development of this lah. But you were saying like we have come to some level of consensus to say that in order to live in a broader community, you got to sacrifice
some of your own individualism,
self, right? Like and unless you grow your own vegetable or something, right? Which, to be fair, you gotta go and get your own water, do your own thing, and then you must pray that the gods of nature will love you.
Globally connected.
Yeah. So like, there's no kampong, or there's one last kampong, or no more kampong anymore.
Don't forget, even
right?
kampong is group. So
Exactly.
It's very group. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So I don't know how you're gonna live alone. I find it quite hard, but that's that, right? So we decided that, you know, our consensus, you got to sacrifice some level of yourself, but you said that it is fine, and you came with such like gusto. It's okay, what, right? You know, but apparently I don't think that is
It's not
the consensus today, right?
It's not the
broader
consensus
out there. So how should we think about it, right? Or what is your thought about it?
So I would say, maybe to nuance it a little, right? There are some beliefs that are so integral to a person that they feel like this is something that is non-negotiable, right? And I think that's fine. As I said, as long as that belief doesn't call for violence, we should allow people to have that, right? But what we need to have, for me as a society, right, is I don't need to respect your belief, you know, Reggie. I'm sure you believe some things which I find ridiculous. Why do I need to respect the belief, right? So for instance, you're not a Muslim, right? So I am a Muslim.
So I'm
right?
ridiculous.
Okay, not yet. But we are going to go somewhere.
Yeah, we're going to go there.
So obviously you don't believe in my God, right? If you don't believe in my God, or that there is a God, why do you need to respect that belief? It doesn't make sense. You don't believe it, you don't have to respect it. But so that's fine. You can think it's ludicrous. You don't have to say it out loud, but you can think it's ludicrous.
If you say it out loud, you will know. There will be echo. It will come back.
Yeah, that one,
That one, your problem, not my problem. Yes.
So
and that is social parameters, right?
Yes,
that is social
exactly.
Yeah.
That's just out of respect, and you know. But what? So you think my belief is ridiculous? You don't have to respect it. But what you need to do is respect my right to believe it. And that's where the balance between individual and community come in, right? So you can have your own beliefs, but you must respect the other person's right to believe in that. And how do you settle it? In the marketplace of ideas, you debate and you argue and you settle it, right? And let the best ideas emerge. So cancellation, right, is a manifestation of a few things, right? One is intellectual arrogance, to think that you have reached the pinnacle of human civilization, right? The other is also, right, which I think is related to trigger warnings also, right? It's it's wanting to be shielded from any slightest discomfort. Right? I personally don't believe in trigger warnings because of that. Like, first of all, if we started having trigger warnings for everybody, right, then the movie will 30 minutes will be trigger warnings.
I might as well just wear the sign.
Yeah.
Come near me and be triggered. Come near me and be triggered.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, okay, so what? Like, there's gonna be a scene that's gonna upset you, right? So what? Like, that's part of life. Yeah.
I have a mental model around that, right? So a lot of people, when they talk, they are always seeking whether you agree or disagree. Right?
Validation.
It's always about validation, right? Whether you agree or disagree. And I totally understand that. Agree means I recognize your idea and I resonate with it, right? So that is the ground, right? And then, but in my head, right, there's another level called acceptance, right? Which is where, oh, that's your idea. Okay, that's it. You know, like I don't need to participate in the discussion of your ideas. I don't even need to, you know, like work on it. You know, so to me that is something that I think a lot of people these days need to start to think about, right? It's not just about agreeable. You know, sometimes it's just accepting that there are just different ideas out there. You know,
I think,
and
to
that
be
is fine.
fair, right, we kind of lost our skills to respect each other's ideas and beliefs. It has weakened over time because we are becoming more isolated.
Okay.
If you look from young kids, okay, they spend majority of their times being shuttled from enrichment to enrichment, go home, homework, revision. They don't spend as much time as we used to in
Downstairs,
the past
with
playing
people,
downstairs.
No, it's not even kids, right? Like the working
Adults also,
professionals are doing the
So
same
these
thing.
then
Morning,
grow
go
up,
there,
right?
yeah,
Correct.
and come back.
And
Gym,
then go
that's
back.
it.
Yeah, and then a lot of your time, social can also be social media,
Yeah, correct.
where you get to choose what to not listen to.
Yeah.
You don't, when you interact in a group, you don't always get a say.
Yeah.
In that workplace or in that group of 10 people, there's bound to be someone you're not so much a fan of, but you just deal with it because that's your group, right? I remember back when I was in secondary school, in my clique, I had this one girl that I really didn't like because she was always bullying me or teasing. Like, now I don't know where to draw the line. Right? And
That's why
later
another
on,
podcast.
I've mentioned her before, right? She knows because we talk about it. It's like
you're friends now?
hilarious. We're best friends.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's hilarious when we look back. But I think the key thing to recognize here is that if that was not then, it's now, right? I could have been all about you know what? I don't have to deal with this. She's not my tribe. I'm going to go off and find my other friends. Yeah. But it wasn't that case. It was because like, look, we are a clique. You know, this is our group. I have to just deal with my feelings. Some things that I really cannot understand, I talk to her, or I go and say her to the teacher, let the teacher party.
Right.
That kind of thing. So you work things out, you work your agreements out. And over time, we're now so close that we still hang out, our kids play together. That may not have happened if it's the people of today's era. And I think the more we allow for all these isolationist measures and practices to continue without intervention, then we're just going to end up seeing society being more individualistic, more narcissistic, and not having those environments or opportunities to practice this.
Correct. Social skills, social intelligence is on the decline in general, because people are unable to read people's expressions. They make people less kids play. Now you have to force them, hey, go down, because they're on their devices. Go down, and really you have to let them.
Last time I stand at the
consequences
gate,
to this.
then I'm like, hey, you know that kind, right?
Yes.
Hey, cannot go.
So it's something that I completely agree with you. I think the social skills, we need to encourage people to, because we may think it's an individual thing, but there are actual societal consequences, like you say, about dealing with conflict, dealing with disagreements. And also when you discuss things in person, right, no matter how much you disagree, there's always some decorum, there's always some. But on social media, the sky is the limit, right? Like you disagree with me, you're Hitler, right?
Or you create a fake account, a non-keyboard warrior.
Yeah, you can just slam people without any
without
limits.
fear of consequences.
Yeah,
In real life, you wouldn't. I didn't give you No.
There's some human etiquette there.
Yeah.
So if for our audience that, let's say they agree with us, right? They agree that this is where we should move towards, right? Okay, you must care for yourself as an individual, but you must also sacrifice
part of
yourself to be part of a collective, right? And depending on how big this collective, you will realize that as this collective get bigger and bigger, you sacrifice more and more of yourself.
Yeah, correct.
Right? I feel that is
and there are many
a first
collectives
principle
as well, like at work, in your social circle.
Exactly.
And at different collectives, you may have to, maybe sacrifice is a strong word that they do not. Maybe you have to downplay some part of your.
Yeah, you must tolerate some parts of
you. Pause first.
Yeah. And this is it's a baseline, right? In a sense that if like two of us, we hang out, some things we don't say, and then like as five people, more things we don't say.
So if we were to go out for lunch now, right, then you have to sacrifice options, right, because we have to go to a halal place, right? That's part of it, right? That's part of living together, right? And that's just normal. Just normal. Or if I go out with you, let's say the three of us, and then we go, and then you guys go drinking, I'll have to
bring your teh tarik.
Yeah, I just drink Sprite or plain water, whatever it is, right? And that's just part of living together, and that's, I think, a normal part of being in a community.
I think if we look back at what our government did long time ago when they shifted everyone out from kampongs into HDB blocks and like make them live with each other, right? I remember learning my social studies. One of the key things to social cohesion was making people get to know each other. That's how they would stop all the racial riots, right? Because when you a Chinese is friends with a Malay, or the Indian is friends with a Muslim, right? They get to know each other as a person. And hence in times of conflict, in times of disagreement, you don't just focus on that thing that divides you, but also on the things that you guys have in common. Like we're both parents. We may not be of the same skin color. We may not have the same religious belief or the same God, but we're both this and that. And that's where our ability to coexist as a community starts to kick in.
Right.
But today, we're kind of losing that.
Yes. So in the past, right, I remember I saw like
we're becoming boomer show, like in the past, long time ago.
You're revealing our age.
No, you see the HDBs of the past, right? You see the corridors. It's not like our corridors. The corridors is all one, and then their doors are all open.
It's shared, right?
It's shared, and then everybody know each other.
I know.
Now it's not
I
like
know
that.
all my neighbors in the block that I grew up in.
Now also, because I make a conscious effort, but I know that most people don't know their neighbors, right? And this is a challenge for people who are watching, right? Can you name me two neighbors' names? Don't call, not uncle or auntie.
I was just going to say uncle, auntie.
Uncle
names
unit
too.
number 2.
Right, and we have, and I completely agree with you. I am in favor of the ethnic integration policy. In fact, nowadays, the new BTOs, they even have the rental housing, social housing, and that's to encourage socio-economic mixing. I'm in favor of that as well, right? So to expose our children to different people, and then realize at the end of the day, hey, we are all the same. Or roughly, we are all the same. You know, like of course there are differences, but ultimately we want the same things. We desire the same things for our children. You know.
Hey,
so
but
that
the building
reduces
design that you
stereotypes.
mentioned is an interesting one. You should lobby for that. Why did LTA, HDB, and actually not LTA, it's HDB, right? Why did they change the BTO blocks design to take away that common
because people
corridor?
want privacy.
Yeah, but social integration.
Yeah,
active
so you lose
integration,
something. You get
have to
privacy,
balance, what?
then you lose
It's
the
cheaper.
community.
Cheaper, faster, all the fabrication.
Yeah, cheaper lah.
standardized.
But at the cost of what?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
What are we giving up?
So we give up,
Exactly.
even our void decks now are not designed for play.
Yeah, I'm giving up the Hari Raya Malay Kuih Kuih. Right?
Hey, but I'm still doing, as in my neighbors and I, we still have that tradition.
Great,
So
great. Yeah.
I don't have.
Yeah, I remember my growing up, there was a huge
Yeah.
corner, at the end of the corridor, 3 households, and then,
No, I have
everybody's just there.
a story. For me, it's a heartwarming one. So my neighbor beside me in my old block, there was a Malay family. Then at the corner was a Chinese Christian family. Then, so this Chinese family was walking by. Then the father and the daughter. Then the father said to the daughter, 4 or 5 years old, say hi to the auntie, to the Malay neighbor. But she was being 4 or 5. She didn't want to say hi. Well, the father went in, right? Then locked the door and said, you don't come in until you say hi. And I witnessed that. Yeah, and then she was crying until the Malay neighbor went out and pled with the father. Hey, it's okay lah. She's just a girl. Just let her in. She said, no, she needs to know respect. Yeah, this was 30 years ago.
It's a bit much
So
lah.
now a girl already lah.
But I witnessed.
Yeah. By today's standard, it's a bit much lah. It's a bit much.
Yeah. That one is child abuse.
Yeah, that one abuse. Not the show's position. Okay, it's not a bit much. But I understand.
You get the
I
essence of the story.
I understand the essence and what the father was trying to do.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
so I
He
totally
was
understand.
trying to put in deliberate intervention measures
Yes.
for her to learn
But a
something.
bit too
respect.
deliberate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
too
yeah.
extreme
Too
lah,
much.
too extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I
Not
think
age appropriate.
yes.
And it's a manifestation of smaller families. As families get smaller and smaller, kids tend to be less interactive,
Yeah.
not as sociable.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
True. Because siblings is a huge part of your
fighting
growing
and
up.
scolding and everything. Yeah.
But also we must be careful also, I think, at the same time, not to romanticize the past, because there are a lot of things that also went wrong in the past. Yeah. No, I would say children today or younger kids today, they are more empathetic in some ways. Maybe not in every way, but in some ways, they are more aware of differences, social, gender, whatever it is, in spite of their shortcomings, which we've already talked about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've went on quite a good circle. Right? We talk about a lot. I love it. Okay, but for some people that want to be a little bit more integrated, with the broader community and not just themselves, right? Or like try to be a little bit more within the community, as make a conscious effort. What would you recommend them to do?
Oh, I would say like really simple things. But one the bigger term, quote unquote, I would say, is invest in human relationships. And I use the word deliberately, invest in human relationships.
You show that you need to put in effort. You need to give up something, right?
My friend. So I have this best friends group, right? So. And we've been
What's
best friends
this
for.
best friend group?
So there's about 10 of us from 18 years old.
Then
We've been
from
best
an
friends.
English perspective, not best already. What? Best is one, Okay, but
Fair enough. So best friends group. So about 10 of us. Then our children are all now friends. Our wives are friends.
Oh, that's
But,
great.
we still meet up at least once a month. And so whenever like we are organizing, and sometimes people cannot meet up. And then one of my friends always say, guys, friendship takes effort. Friendship, like he will always do that, right? And relationships take
He
effort.
guilt trip you all into it.
Yeah,
but it
which-
works.
but
it works.
No, but it's true.
Yes,
it
yes.
does.
It
It's
does
not
take
something
effort.
like,
Yes.
you're friends, and then 4 years later, and then sometimes people post right on social media, I haven't met her in 4 years, but our relationship is still as strong. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not.
If it was, you wouldn't wait 4 years to meet, right? So, or it was never strong to begin with. So, my point is we need to invest in these relationships, So go out, have tea with people. You disagree with, talk to them, talk to them in person and try to understand them, and you don't have to agree. So, like simple things that all of us can do, and I'm of course spending less time on the phone, which I admit I myself am an addict. But I do try as much as possible, to check in with friends that maybe I have not talked to in a while, just message, things like that, and try to meet up. So extremely simple things, but I think in the long run, it has a profound societal impact.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say take part in activities, and if there is no group, you can form your own. So I'll share 2 examples, right? I think as someone who lives in a HDB, I think it's fantastic that the town council tends to organize a lot of those community events.
Nowadays better.
The sad
There
thing
was a
is,
period of time I
not a
feel
lot
like
of
the
people-
event not for me. Like what a shit event is this? But
Like
now,
drawing competition.
alamak, like okay, like I get it. You want to do for children, it must be age appropriate, and you have a wide varying audience, right? But I shout out to the Tampines West
Oh,
CC.
Tampines. My MP, they go Batam.
Yeah,
Like,
love it.
Wow.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no, but Tampines West CC even better. Like Tampines West, there's a market in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Near the CC. Wow, they organize like movie night with
Oh, yeah,
durian,
yeah.
everything. I was like, yeah, shout out to you. And it's a bunch of young people doing it, right? So great job.
Yeah, so I think like taking part in those are important. But I think you also have to balance because some people don't like to be known or recognized by their neighbors, so they will deliberately tell you, I don't know my neighbor's name and I don't want them to know my name. So there's always a balance, but I think being part of the events where you are in groups or environments that you're in is important. So I like to go and try to go for all these kind of activities because it's bonding. Another story I want to share is for creating your own groups, right? So sometimes, you may feel like, I really don't want to sacrifice so much of myself. Like the groups that are around me, I feel like I can't really click or I don't feel as comfortable. It's okay to seek out. And if you seek out but you cannot find it, create, right? So like, for instance, okay, this one is a little, it's a little bit more common. Okay, but for instance, in my kids' class, right, I've always wanted and I always wish that, as a first-time mom, I always wish we knew the other moms. We all send our kids and their kids are all playing together. Why the parents cannot get to know each other? Why must we wait until primary school then know each other, right? Because I heard, you got primary 1 group chat. How do I have preschool group chat? But, and then it was understandable because lockdown, no activities, don't get to meet each other. Now that lockdown's over, the schools are beginning to organize more parent-child events so you can come and meet others. But because our group didn't have, our kids grew up in that COVID era, the moment we had an event, right, I went ahead and I was like, hey, we should create a group chat. And then we opened it up. So it was an open invite. Whoever is a parent of a kid in this class can join. And it was hilarious. All the moms joined, the dad didn't join.
No, maybe the dad got a different group chat.
Yeah,
The dad got a different group chat.
Maybe
Let's
seek out
talking
their own
about
support
this group
channel.
chat. It's like, wow, they share this thing. Alamak, I see already. Cannot tahan, right? Yeah. It's normal.
Yeah, so
if
like,
everybody is in the
create
same
your
group
own.
chat, but then you are the problem, right? There's a different discussion.
Yeah, so we can go and create communities. And I think like it really it's like what you say, invest, right? It also takes efforts to find the right groups that you want to be with and be in. So it can be like, in the past, for instance, when I was in school, you need to clock your community hours. Then they give you a lot of activities to choose from. I didn't like any of them.
I hated those.
Yeah, I
I
hated
still
all
think it's
of it.
rubbish.
So I went to find something that I like. And I was a bookworm. So I was like, let me find something books related. Can I
Great.
read on the job?
Great.
I read, then 2 hours pass by very fast because I'm reading like Harry Potter or don't know what, right? And then 8 o'clock already. So I went to find, it didn't exist at all. And nothing like that existed.
Great.
So I went to find, and then I proposed it to my school and it got added in.
Nice.
So you can go and take the initiative, go and take the effort to go and find. And then in there, you might find like-minded people.
Yes.
And no matter how like-minded you are, there will be something that will be also different.
Of course.
I think that's where learning how to socialize and accept people will come in. Because we must remember at the very core of it, right? When we talk about giving up part of your individualism to be part of a community, the community also has to fit and strengthen your individualism to some extent. So it's not like you have, let's say, like multifaceted 10 different hats, right? You give up or downplay or mute these 2 hats to be part of this other community. But at least that has to strengthen and fit into your 8 hats here so that you don't feel like you're deprived or anything. And then you seek out your 2 hats in other areas as well. Yeah, I think that's important. And if you can't find that community, then people have to go out there to take effort to find or create such communities.
Fair.
Well, that's deep, man.
Yeah, deep, huh? Very good.
Difficult. And then as
like
parents,
it.
I
I
think
like
we
it.
need to intervene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's why you're on this show.
We need-
Because we are deep. We don't talk cock, right? Just have a good laugh.
It's really
We
And so
really
fun.
need need to intervene.
So one of the things I've started doing now, the intervention is so there's a street soccer and basketball court at my place. So I will let my son go down. So initially I went down with him. Nowadays I still go down with him, but I will let him go down by himself as well. Navigate like these relationships with them. Right? There'll be bigger boys and there'll be girls, but mostly boys, and then play with them. If you get teased, that's just part of it. And then as long as there's no hitting, there's no physical abuse, it's fine. Deal with it yourself. So we need to let go more also as parents, and we need to force these relationships.
And I think as much as we acknowledge their feelings, we also cannot like mollycoddle them so much that we take them out of the environment.
Correct.
So when my kid tells me he doesn't like this other kid in school, I'll try and I'll validate that first. Okay, why you don't like him? Find out what's the reason. Like, yeah, that's not very good. Okay, but are there other nice things that you can think of that he has done? And then try to, balance that and make him realize, look, you have also probably done some things that he or she may not like. No one likes each other all the time. Daddy, mommy also fight sometimes. Right. But it's all about learning to be friends and like, not like, okay, we'll change schools. Okay, you don't have to play that person. Go and play with these
If
other
everyone
people
was one
instead.
color, how boring would the world be?
Yeah.
Okay, but I have a few points, right? So in closing, I share with you 2 points. First thing is, I feel like people shouldn't take relationship too as an efficient method. Right, like just now what you're saying is like, oh yeah, you go and look for this, like they're all very efficient. It's all a discussion from like productivity and all that. Like, oh, I must very efficient. Target this, do that, go there. No, right? So I feel like if you want to take yourself as part of the community, you must connect with as many people around and don't be too selective about it, right? So in other words, I'm trying to get you to dial back your intention, dial back your efficiency goal, right? And just go and talk to whoever you need to talk to around you, right? So use your vicinity well, and I think sometimes, it takes a few more steps, but you will still find a neighbor that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? Don't need to be too efficient, too targeted when it comes to that. But realize that, okay, you live within this vicinity, and as much as you have great friends in Jurong, you are in Tampines, means you are in Tampines, right? The easiest people to meet are the people in Tampines, right? So that is so important. And the next thing, I feel like a lot of Singaporeans have this problem with like, I don't want to trouble other people. Right? I tell you, troubling other people is the best because people are waiting for you to trouble them. Right?
They feel important when you are the person that they go to in terms of crisis.
Yeah. And I think that is a much different discussion, but it's important. Right? So what I did, because my partner and I, we gave some treats to the neighbor. Right, and then he was like, give disposable can already lah, right? I was like, no, must give the porcelain one, very nice cover, everything. Why? Because like that the person will paise and bring back. Then we got 2 times for interaction. Right? So and then back and forth, we trouble each other. Over time, we become friends.
Oh, that's a good technique.
Yeah, you
don't
must
give
give
disposable.
Don't give the sweet one.
But this is very common in the Muslim community. So the neighbor, especially in fasting month, I think my generation do it less because we cook less. Right? But my parents until now, so my mom will give to the neighbor. Then the next day, the neighbor will give something back. And so the whole month, 30 days is giving something.
Ting, ting, tong, tong, ting. It's great.
30 days,
Yeah, and it's such a low-hanging fruit because you just need to
you
start.
already have it there.
Yeah, it's already there. You just cook a bit more, just bake a bit more. It's fine. It's so simple. And you will always bake more because these days, people's families are just too small. Right? So once you start there, then the motion begins, right? Back and forth. Then somehow, a few meetings later, you start to know, the kid, blah, blah, blah. Like my husband, blah, blah, blah. The wife, blah, blah, blah. That is how you start building very casual relationships with the people around you. And by doing so, you release the stress, of being in that space, right? Because I think there's a lot of very well documented ideas around how if you live around people that you don't know, it's very stressful.
Yeah.
Right? So all these are.
Hey, I can lock my gate or not? Oh no, someone's gonna come in.
I
never lock. It's okay.
Yeah, then your neighbor say, hey, that day I got the person outside. That one outside.
Running home because you just deliver an iPad at the door.
Yes.
Like, no, cannot. But if you know your neighbors, nobody's gonna take your iPad.
Exactly. My neighbor was like, hey, your cat run out to the balcony. I was like, is he jumping out? No. Okay, then it's okay. Relax. Anything, call me again. Such great neighbors, right? But it all begins with you. If you don't have a neighbor that is like, will take the first step, then you take the first step lah. Like, what's so bad about it?
I mean, for me, really, if like you don't have that neighbor, like you don't have that relationship with your neighbor now, right? Like wait for the festive season, give something.
Yeah.
That's the easiest one. Like,
Easiest.
like Chinese New Year, you go and give over. Like Hari Raya, you give over. That's,
Yeah.
and then the relationship is developed already.
Yeah, and like so many neighbors. You live in a high density environment. You cannot tell me you
There's
don't
no
know.
one.
There's no one, right? Singapore is so dense, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
better
yeah.
go and know a few neighbors, right? And by doing so, they may not be directly impactful to your professional life, but they add so much color
Yeah,
to
yeah,
your
yeah.
living, right? So I think that is a big part of striking balance.
So the challenge is the next time people should be asking themselves, can I name more than 2 neighbors?
Yes.
Yes. Best you name their kid and their spouse also. Yeah, then you know the
Right,
person.
right,
Yeah.
right,
So
right.
that's it for
Yes.
today. All the best.
Oh, we're done.
Oh yeah, we're done.
Oh,
Oh, you want
okay,
to plug?
okay.
You want to plug your book?
No,
no
it's
need.
okay.
Okay,
It's from a few
okay.
years ago.
Yeah, from a few years ago, we have new book coming out. Okay, alright. So check out Teh Tarik Walid, and that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys. Woo!
Bye bye.